Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to just wait a couple, about 15 seconds here. There's still some people logging in, coming in. Thanks for joining us. People starting to roll in here. A couple more seconds here. Let's get started. By the way, those of us joining us, please send us questions in the chat room. There is a Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. We actually prefer that the questions be sent there, but we understand a lot of people like using the chat, so that's fine too. My name is Peter Catalanotte. I'm the Director of Film Tucson. Thank you for joining us today. I'm also on the Legislative Committee of the Arizona Film and Digital Media Coalition, and I'll be your moderator today. I'm going to introduce to all the people that you see in the squares around you here, and they're our panel that are going to help us explain these bills. First up, if you could wave when I call your name, we have Blake Edgar. He's from Train Like a Pro. He's the co-founder and CEO of that company. He's a native of Tucson and attended Flowing Wells High School. He went on to play baseball at Eastern Arizona JC and Metro State University. After being selected in the 2004 MLB draft, Blake spent 6 years with the New York Mets and has gone on to coach the Swedish junior national team, the Swedish national team, and the Russian national team. He currently owns several companies based around youth sports and is the president of Tucson Youth Sports, which is a nonprofit to provide assistance to Southern Arizona youth athletes. Thanks for joining us, Blake. Next up, we have Darcy Mantoni, an independent lobbyist who's originally from San Diego. Darcy moved to Tucson after college in 2002 and began her career by teaching 5th grade in the Vail School District. She moved on to serve as a high school assistant principal, then became principal, before moving into her current role as a director of PR and government affairs for the district. Darcy lobbies for education in Arizona and has extensive knowledge of the Arizona legislature. Thank you for joining us, Darcy. Next up, we have Mr. Tom Moulton from the Southern Arizona Attractions Alliance. He's the executive director there. The Southern Arizona Attractions Alliance is a nonprofit organization marketing the region's attractions and the assets there in partnership with Visit Tucson, the region's official tourism promotional agency. Prior to taking over his current leadership position, Tom was the Pima County Director of Economic Development, Tourism, and Leased Assets from 2001 to 2007. And he's was the general manager of Old Tucson Studios during that time. Thank you for joining us, Tom. Next up, we have Randy Murray. He's with the Arizona Film and Digital Media Coalition. Randy Murray is a producer, writer, and director, and he started his film career in the late 70s. Randy and his wife, Teresa, started their production company, Randy Murray Productions, in 1991. They produce documentaries, commercials, shorts, and TV shows. They also own a post-production company, Postal, and First Studio. Randy was a founding president of the Arizona Production Association and is on the legislative committee chair of the Arizona Film and Digital Media Coalition. Randy's in Phoenix. Thanks for joining us, Randy. Last, but certainly not least, is Edgar Soto, a community leader, well-respected throughout the community, I might say. He's vice president at Pima Community College and a native Tucsonan. For over 24 years, Edgar has worked in a variety of roles at Pima Community College, including executive director of athletics, dean of arts and humanities, and sports marketing coordinator, just to name a few. Edgar is a frequent presenter and public speaker at many events and is active on many community boards of directors. He was a member of the Pima County Sports and Tourism Authority and a community leader. Thank you so much for joining us, Edgar. So we are going to get started. We're going to just dive right in here. The first thing we're going to talk about is SB1708. As many of you saw in the e-blast we sent out, there are two bills. So we're going to go through both of them. The first one is 1708. I'm going to ask Randy Murray of the Arizona Film and Digital Media Coalition to kind of give us a quick overview of what that bill is. And then Darcy will step in to talk about some of the legislative strategy behind that bill. Randy?
I guess thank you, Peter, and thank you for putting this on. And it's an honor to be with you guys, all of you. So I guess the short answer to that, what is this bill? It's spectacular from my perspective, I will say. Unbeknownst to the legislative committee who've been working for years to try to get this bill, a bill similar to this passed, we've struggled and struggled. A bunch of heroes for our industry have been working to sort of put it together to make it happen, and it's amazing. And Darcy will talk more about that process. But what the bill actually does, it is an incentive, it is a rebate, it's dollars spent on the ground. So if you come to Arizona, you bring a production to Arizona and you spend the dollars here, you will get a percentage of that back based on certain criteria in the bill. And I encourage everybody to read the bill, even though it is confusing and it doesn't come off as clear as I hope I'm going to explain it here. But you get a percentage of those dollars back as a check from the Department of Revenue in Arizona. It is a competitive rebate. It is very attractive. It starts at a percentage, and I apologize, I think it's still 19. I'll have to double check. And that's the base. And it goes up 2.5 for if you meet this criteria, 2.5 if you meet that criteria, 2.5 if you meet that criteria. These criteria are designed to do, the first set of criteria are designed to encourage major production companies, studios, to relocate portions of their back offices, their studios here in Arizona, and to build facilities. There is no secret to it. This is a developer's bill, and when it first came out, it wasn't as friendly to the production people. It was more for that. But the people, the writers of the bill, listened to us about the advantage of supporting the production community, and they have just been wonderful in modifying their plans to help grow the community. And so another bump is if you're hiring local. For everybody you hire local, every local dollar, every local service you hire, you get another bump. But if if you have to bring people in from Los Angeles or New Mexico or somewhere else, and you pay them here and they pay Arizona taxes for that income, that you get a bump, you get a rebate on that. The final bump that you get is on if you build a facility here, if you bring something to town, to the state. If you put your accounting offices in Tubac, you're going to get a big bump. If you put your creative development offices in Sedona, you're going to get a big bump. I say big, it's 2.5. The other tiered aspect is based upon how much money you spend. I will not try to argue that this is a perfect bill, but I will argue that this is a perfect beginning to the bill, and I'm very thrilled and grateful for Senator Gowan and all those co-sponsors that have done this. And with that, I will pass it on to Darcy, who will explain the politics of it all.
Hi, all. First of all, let me apologize for being in my car. I was on another panel at 2 o'clock in Phoenix, so I'm just returning from that. I'd like to echo what Randy said is, everyone is aware that this bill is not necessarily perfect. However, since politics is a team sport, you can't get anything done with just one person. You need to be able to write a bill that has support from enough members to get it passed. And so what was done is an economist was brought in to run the numbers of the different components of the bill, and it had to show that enough revenue was going to be brought in through this program to cover the tax incentives. And so there are a few things that aren't necessarily perfect, but it was done just to be able to get the bill through both the House and the Senate. This bill is not a done deal. It still has to, of course, go through the entire process. It just went through the Senate Appropriations Committee. Next, it's going to go to Senate Rules. Then it will need to be read 3 separate times on the floor of the Senate and get passed each of those times before it goes over to the House. It will go through the same process over there. It will go to Appropriations and possibly another committee or 2 before it goes to the
Darcy, you're breaking up a little bit there. Since Darcy is driving back from Phoenix, it looks like it's kind of breaking up somewhat. We'll see if she comes back on in a moment. Our apologies for the technical gaffe of things here. Darcy, we'll come back to you. Sorry that maybe you're hearing us, but your screen is frozen. So we're going to move on a little bit here, and we'll come back to you. Sorry about that. Why don't we talk? Is there anything that about 1708 that Darcy was maybe going to cover that you can fill in, Randy, since Darcy's line froze?
Yeah, well, Darcy's a pro, and our industry should be very grateful to her for her help in maneuvering the delicacies of the process. But I will say the one thing that we can do is we can support the grassroots movement. We can, when Senator Gowan needs help, and hopefully he will not need it, but I suspect that he will. We need to be standing by and ready to respond, and that is what the AFMDC have, the Arizona Film and Digital Media Coalition has done, is set up this activist list, sort of a mobilization list that everybody should be on, I hope, and I hope they encourage all their family and friends and vendors to be on and to be ready. When Senator Gowan or Nick Simonetta says, we need this help, we're getting trouble from this politician, or this person is on the fence and we need to show them that the voters care about this, we will send you an email spelling it out. We'll provide the text for your email, your phone call, your letter, whatever way you want to reach out to your representatives. And we'll send it to you in a blast, and everybody will be able to respond. And we can be as agile and as powerful as a grassroots effort could be in Arizona. So please, if you're not on that list, go to that list. It's at the, you have that, Peter?
Well, I have some graphics and I'm having trouble showing them on the screen. I will read everyone the email address. My apologies. It's AZ, F as in film, D as in digital, M as in media, C for coalition. So that's azfdmc.org. If you got the original e-blast from us about this webinar, there is a link in that webinar to that address. Definitely sign up. We'll be talking about that later. It's an agenda item about how the public can help us. Darcy, sorry, are you back with us? Was there anything?
I am. Yes.
Sorry.
Well, I just wanted to share that when you're running a bill through the legislature, the senator that sponsors the bill makes all of the difference. And David Gowan is the chair of appropriations. So he's the guy that holds the purse strings to the state. He's a very powerful member. And so that is really good news. He has said that he's concerned about it getting through the House of Representatives. So at that point, you know, I imagine that that's when people are going to need to start calling and emailing their legislators just to make sure that it has enough support to pass the House.
Sounds good. Thank you, Darcy. We're going to skip ahead to the next bill. As we mentioned, those of you that got the newsletter and the e-blast, there are 2 bills actually. The second bill actually is concerned with bringing sporting events, tourism, and film. So it's not strictly a film bill, but I know the majority of people listening in today are interested on the film side. But I wanted to have some people speak about the sports and the workforce development and the tourism elements of this bill, so that way you can see how the film will be, how film will parallel that. So we're going to start off first with Edgar Soto. You can raise your hand, Edgar, so everyone sees who you are. He's going to explain how the bill came about, and then he'll pass it on from there.
So thank you, Peter, for putting this together, and thank you for everyone in attendance. I'm really excited because I think these two bills really complement each other, and I think it's always important to share the narrative how this came about. So Tom Moulton and I were part of the Pima County Sports and Tourism Authority way back in 2008, some things going on, and it didn't happen the way we wanted it to happen. And then by chance, I became the Dean of Arts and Humanities there at Pima, and I got in contact with a gentleman named Matthew Earl Jones, who is the Director of Film for Arizona, appointed by the governor. And as we started to look at this, we started to see how film, youth and amateur sports, professional baseball all intertwine. And we started to have some conversations about bringing film when we saw Tom Moulton at a panel for film. And so all this started to come about. And once I got Blake involved, Blake started to really kind of take the lead in this, because like with anything, if someone's not putting in the time and effort to this, it's not going to be shepherded along and not going to happen. But what we're really trying to do here in the big picture is create jobs. And both these bills are opportunities to create some really good jobs in Southern Arizona, and for people to get quality jobs that are going to create a life of meaning and purpose for them. And that's what we're trying to do in this community. The workforce development part of it is we have some things going on through Pima, through U of A, to make sure that we have the workforce to support the film and do the things that we want to do, so we don't have to bring people from other states. The unique thing about this situation is that they are a lot of people that were living here in Southern Arizona and part of the film industry when we had our tax credits and Tucson and Old Tucson was being used, and we had a robust film industry. So there are a lot of people that would like to come back to Tucson, to come back to Southern Arizona. So I'm excited about this. I think we're moving in the right direction. I think it's important that we all kind of support each other, work together, and really see all the commonalities that we have. And I think we have an opportunity that if we set up these dominoes the right way, that we can really be in a place to help support this and serve these industries that are coming in. And I'm sure Peter and Randy can share the conversations we have with some of the executives and opportunities. So I'm going to pass this on to Blake, who's kind of served as the executive director in this capacity, to make sure that this continues to move along and we continue to support this. Blake.
Thanks, Edgar. I just want to reiterate Edgar's thoughts and also say thank you to Peter for putting this together and for everybody to be here. One of the things that we talked about, and I was fortunate enough to get pulled in by Edgar at a later stage, and we had a good group, and then Darcy came on board and everything kind of caught fire and we were able to move forward, is that we looked at the whole of Southern Arizona. So not just Pima County, but we've added 5 other counties currently and potentially 2 more as we move forward. But that's Pinal, Santa Cruz, Cochise, Graham, and Greenlee. And our thought process is to be able to assess the needs of those counties, which it might be in film, it might be in tourism, it might be in sports, and be able to help them progress any current situations that they have or future projects that they might have. So if we're able to have consistent communication between those 6 counties, potentially 8 counties at one point, and be able to develop or redevelop what they have currently or add new builds to it. So from the sports side of it, what we've talked about a lot is trying to bring Major League Baseball back to Southern Arizona from a spring training standpoint, and also bringing a minor league club back to Tucson, or if it's going to be built somewhere else, wherever that might be. We've had some back-end conversations with different clubs, and there's still a lot of interest to be here. They love Tucson. They loved what we had. Some things went sour, and that's fine, but trying to reconnect those dots and make sure that this could be home to baseball again. We've also lost some other things that we'd love to see come back. You've had a lot of PGA Tour events here. We had MLS soccer spring training here. All those things were once viable options in Southern Arizona, and we've lost those, but that doesn't mean the door is closed. Edgar pointed to something earlier that we did at one point have a viable movie industry in Southern Arizona at Old Tucson. We've had Major League Baseball, we've had all these events in Southern Arizona. So the door has been there, it's been open, it hasn't fully closed, to be able to revisit that and see if we can get something back here. It might be e-games, it might be something, but it will be able to create potential jobs and workforce development. It will also be able to create an environment that's sustainable long-term. I'm gonna say that word again, because that's really important to me. Sustainability in Southern Arizona, right? I'm a product of Southern Arizona. I grew up here. I've lived all over the world. I continuously come back here for some reason. It's a phenomenal city. It's a phenomenal area. I love Southern Arizona. I love everything it has to add. When I talk to people that I've been around throughout the United States or through other countries, they don't really know anything about Tucson. And then when I do find people that have visited this area or visit Southern Arizona, they continuously come back to it. So it's being able to market the region that we currently have, promoting the region that we have, getting people here, and then getting them to reinvest and revisit the region that we currently are in. And I think that's a phenomenal region. We want to be able to promote everything we have in Southern Arizona. And with that being said, I will pass it to Tom Moulton.
Unmute myself. Thank you all, and appreciate the opportunity. Everything that we're really talking about here is in my kind of realm, the economic development. I think there was discussion about creation of jobs. Well, if you look at parts of the bills, this really covered a lot of different areas. The development of small businesses. Some people might want to say bringing the businesses back because we lost some of the film production because our lack of our incentive programs. So if you look at all of the elements of these two bills, you're having an economic development opportunity much more than just one dimension. So let's talk about, again, those areas, the development of small businesses, okay? When the need is here, the small businesses will come back, okay? So that creates jobs. Certainly there was in the chat room, so what happens when a movie comes into town? Well, first you have the crew, okay? You know, and part of that crew is gonna be from here. Depending on how big the production is, there's going to be crew certainly that comes here. They're going to be staying in our hotels. They're going to be eating in our restaurants. They're going to be finding locations throughout the community where they'll might have to pay some rent to it. And then the after effect that is that they see how beautiful Tucson is, and they actually buy homes here and they stay here, you know, especially during the winter if they're from a cold weather state. And then the most important thing is seeing Tucson on the big screen or on how big your screen is on at your home, seeing all the different things there are to do here in the community. And you know, we're not this brown desert, we're a beautiful desert. And we still have to keep plugging away and letting people know of how beautiful we are, how wonderful our weather is. And the sports tournaments that could possibly come here with giving the opportunity to, one, create general awareness of the assets that we have right now, increase the collaboration between the folks that own the assets, and then ultimately understanding what the community's needs are. So it wasn't that long ago when the Pima County Sports and Tourism Authority was put together, we found out a lot of things. One, there was very little to no collaboration going on between our assets, and that we had a lack of soccer fields when the demand was high. And it wasn't just bringing the people here to play tournaments, but it was the folks that were leaving here and going up north or going to Los Angeles or whatever. So when you talk about economic development, you have to talk about new money coming in. But what a lot of people don't talk about is what happens when the money leaves. And that was happening because we didn't have the assets, we didn't have the collaboration. So whether it be soccer or whether it be ice skating or playing hockey, these people were leaving. And so we are now, in the discussion of building field houses over in the new site at Keno. and bringing in 3 ice skating rinks. So these people don't have to leave, you know, in order to enjoy ice and the sports that go along with that. And so I think really several messages here, you know, bringing people in, creating new jobs by bringing small businesses, whether they're new or bringing them back, and certainly the increase of the collaboration, because what happens when people start talking, we start inviting people and they start coming. And so tourism is a big part of Arizona, big part of Tucson. So everything that we're talking about today has to do about generating some generation of new wealth so we can continue to grow.
Fantastic. We have just about 5 minutes. Darcy, you're very popular. A lot of people in the side panel are asking you if you could finish your thoughts about the timeline. They all want to hear, everybody's rallying for Darcy. Could you just give a really quick finish your thought about the timeline of the bill, what your expectations are?
Yeah, absolutely. We're expecting this to be a relatively short legislative session because it is an election year and everybody wants to get out of there and get on the campaign trail. So I imagine that the bill will be signed by the governor, assuming it passes. It will be signed by the governor by no later than April 15th-ish. Now, the Sports and Tourism Authority bill does not have a start date, which means it will officially go into effect 90 days after the governor signs it. The film incentives bill does have an implementation date, which is January 2022. So there will be about a 6-month gap between the time, well, longer than 6 months, more like 8 months between the time the bill is signed and it's actually implemented.
So Darcy, you meant January 2023, I believe.
That's exactly what I meant.
Okay.
All right.
I read your lips.
Tom is on it.
I'd also like to say I'm reading the chats, and Jana sent everyone a link to find their legislators. Thank you so much for doing that, Jana. I also would like to let you know that when you call or email members of the legislature, you of course should be calling the legislators whose district you live in, but it also does not hurt to call all of the other members. So please don't just limit it to your 3 legislators from your legislative district. And I had something else to say and I can't remember. Oh, and then the other thing is legislators are just like anybody else. When you call them or email them, they respond well to positive messages and they respond poorly to negative messages. So thanking them so much for hearing this bill, talking about your strong support, how much it will do for our communities and the economy. Those are all important things. If somebody says something negative to you, just thank them and be on your way. So we don't want any negative messages going around.
Sounds good.
I'd like to jump in if I may, Peter, on that.
Sure, go ahead, Randy.
You know, we don't, as citizens and voters, we don't always understand that these legislators work so hard on our behalf and get paid hardly anything for it. And they truly are volunteers in a serious sense. So it's always great to start the conversations with just thank you for the service they're doing. They're really working hard for us, regardless if you agree with their politics or not. They're really giving it. They're putting out for us, and we should be grateful for that. That's always a good way to start a conversation with a legislator, somebody who's a public service.
I would agree with that. We're already on the next part of our, we have an agenda here, by the way, everybody. Those of you watching that don't know how we're sorting this out. The next thing that we were going to talk about was how the public can help. So we're already kind of at that point now. I want to ask a question that Kieran Thompson just sent. When would be the best time to reach out to your legislators? Darcy, do you have a take on that? My guess would be ASAP.
Well, no, I actually would not start yet.
Okay.
There's a lot going on at the Capitol around education funding right now, and members are getting a few thousand emails a day, and they would just get buried. So what I would say is we need to wait until these come up against some opposition, and then come at them with a united force. What's most helpful is if they get 50, 60 emails a day from people on the same bill, they will start paying attention. So if everyone can just wait, and then we will, give the call to action when it's time.
This is one thing that's really important about the activist list that we have there with the Arizona Film and Digital Media Coalition. If you're on that, we're waiting for the lobbyists to say, now, here's the targets. Everybody, we can target them. They'll give us the message. We'll be very, very targeted. We'll have the right copy, their email addresses handy, and it'll just take you a minute to respond. And we'll be very coordinated that way. Everybody will be working together, and we'll have the greatest impact for the effort.
And this seems like a good time to stress again to everybody, please go to the website for the Arizona Film and Digital Media Coalition, sign on to their mobilization portion of their website, and you will get notified when the bill is coursing its way through, and you will be given advice on how to write and when to write and what to write. It's very important that everybody sign up with them as soon as possible. What are some other ways the public can help? Is there anyone else who would like to weigh in on this?
We may get the opportunity to go down and be there in person, which is always kind of fun if you do. But I don't know that we're going to have the opportunity. In the past, we've had events on the down at the mall, and I don't think we're going to have an opportunity to do that because it's happening so quickly. Darcy?
Yeah, of course, any member of the public is welcome to attend hearings up at the legislature. So maybe I think is it Kiernan who is sending out alerts for everyone?
Yeah,
maybe
Kieran.
Okay. Maybe it would be helpful if he sent out alerts on when each bill is being heard in what committee or on the floor. And members of the public are always allowed to be there. You can also sign up for, you can also request to speak to the members of a committee. And so if anyone would like to do that, I'm sure Kiernan will send out directions on how to sign up for a request to speak account. It would be, actually, Jana just popped into the chat that you can write a letter to the editor. Any positive momentum PR-wise would be helpful. If members of the legislature are reading about, how cool this would be in the Capitol Times, or they turn on the radio in the morning and they hear a story about it, that will certainly help. So anything you can do to get it in front of the public eye, or any support that you'd like to give in person at the Capitol would certainly be appreciated.
And I would recommend, Randy or Darcy, you can step in and correct me. I've always tried to have people write letters that talk about the economic impact of filming. If you own a small business that was hired by HBO and you made some money off something they needed from you, make sure to talk about it in dollars and cents and economic impact. That's what the senators need to hear, that filming brings money. And so if they rented your home as a location, or you had a plot of land and they parked trucks there and paid you a location fee, or if you own a store that sells painting supplies, or you're a makeup artist, or you're a store that has supplies for makeup artists, and you made money off of production, please put that in the letter to the senators, make sure they understand that this is about jobs. This is about economic impact. That's the most important thing they need to hear. One thing I want to talk about, this is sort of a form of support, I guess. Everyone's asking about different questions about the support and the industry. I set up a meeting, which actually occurred yesterday, with some different studios who are very interested in filming in Arizona. I was attended by executives from Netflix and Sony and Viacom and Disney and HBO, of course, because we're already in touch with them, NBC Universal, et cetera. And they had a chance to talk with the senator, Senator Gowan, who dropped these two bills, and show their support to him and ask, what can we do to help? So I'm just letting all of you know, the studios know this is happening. They're very interested in this. They want to come to Arizona. And so they're following this quite closely. Someone in the chats mentioned there's an unprecedented amount of content being produced. And that was really echoed by some of the studios in the meeting we had yesterday with the senator. They're filming at places where they're straining to find space to film. So Arizona can get that runoff. We just need that golden ticket, and it's these two bills. So I just wanted to address that. Does anyone have, Randy, you want to say something?
I just want to say that, you know, that meeting, the studios had one request to change the bill. And that request was to move up the deadline so it happens sooner. They want to come so bad. They're so anxious to start coming back to Arizona.
That's exactly it. Yep. Miracles, we're kind of ahead of time here. We had little, pockets of time we were going to speak on different things. So I'm just going to read some different questions if everyone's okay, unless anyone on the panel has anything they'd like to add at the moment. Let's see. Shelby Elwood asks, is anyone, and she puts it in quotes, holding the hands of the legislators who are currently considering the bill? Anyone on the panel like to, Darcy?
Yes, we absolutely are. We've been meeting with members of both the House and the Senate on this bill for quite a while now.
Great. Joe Sharkey asks, let's see, it's kind of, would this legislation make Arizona competitive with states that have been attracting major production, among them Georgia and Kentucky?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. I mean, it is unique. Our Arizona's unique. This bill is unique. Our incentive will be slightly different than everybody else's. And I think Senator Gowan said it best when he said, this bill is smarter than the other incentives. It's targeting long-term job growth, long-term development. It's not targeting short-term windfalls. It's much more Arizona-centric.
Well, here's something else, Peter, I want to mention. And Randy, when we were sitting at dinner a while back, one of the things that you and I spoke about is we've been able to learn from some of these other states and seen what's worked from them and what hasn't worked from them. So what we're learning here is that when we are creating these opportunities, that we're, not learning from our mistakes, learning from other people's mistakes, so we can position ourselves to be really in a place to be supportive and to give these studios what they need to be successful.
Great. Let's see. Marcelo Dietrich, and if I butcher anyone's name, I apologize ahead of time. Who are the businesses outside of those directly involved in film that can benefit from these two bills? Hotels, car rentals, restaurants? Film Tucson is part of Visit Tucson. Visit Tucson is the tourism office for the southern part of the state. And so we work a lot with the hotels and the car rentals and the restaurants. The example I'm going to keep bringing up, of course, when HBO was here in Southern Arizona, I saw the staff of the HBO shoot going to restaurants on their free time. I saw them getting catering from local restaurants. I saw them renting cars for months at a time. The hotel rooms that they got, our office actually helped set up. We worked some deals so they would get good rates. The hotels made a lot of money. There was a huge economic impact from that. So all of those things would benefit. I've actually been reaching out to some businesses in Southern Arizona, in Bisbee, where the feature film called Bisbee 17 shot. Was kind of an award winner that played at Sundance. That had a huge economic impact for the town of Bisbee. I'm also reaching out to some people in Nogales, Arizona, where The Hangover 3 was shot. Todd Phillips directed that about 5 years ago, I think it was. So we're getting the businesses that benefited from that filming to reach out to the senator. And then, of course, everybody here that worked on the HBO show. And then I've had some conversations with some of the other film offices up north to do something similar with communities there.
Peter, also, yeah, I'll add a couple of things there. So another huge part of that's going to be tourism, bringing people into the Southern Arizona, being able to go to the state parks, the national park that we have here in Southern Arizona, but also from a tourism standpoint, it creates direct flights for our airport. So it creates a stronger airport grounding throughout the country. It allows us to have more direct flights, which is now going to keep tourism coming in. So one of the big points that we've been trying to get across for a long time, if we're going to host events, if we're going to have film in Southern Arizona, we need more direct flights to the Midwest and Northeast and internationally. And this is one thing that's definitely going to give us a lot of backing in this area.
Peter, I also want to mention that one of the things that we spoke about is workforce development. I just want to share with you that I know the community colleges, high schools, and the universities are in a position to make sure that we have the workforce. One of the concerns with Matthew Earl Jones, the director of film, was that if we do have these opportunities here, are we going to have the workforce to support them? And I can say we will. Just in the short amount of time, we did have at Modern Studios, they had a workshop there that Matthew Earl Jones was part of. I think there was about 8 of those students that were Pima College students that worked there actually got jobs on the HBO Max film that was filmed here in Tucson. So there are these opportunities, there is the interest, and I think the university, high school, and community college are in a position to support it.
And just like Edgar said, it gives us a better chance of having a higher retention rate of our local graduates in Southern Arizona, which would be huge for Southern Arizona.
Great, great, great. All right, I'm gonna just keep reading questions. Sharon Weiss, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, has a question regarding the items qualified for the rebate. I also see that we are missing a bump for training as well as a requirement for every project to have a minimum number of training positions.
I would love to address that. Sharon, thanks for the question, because it opens up a whole discussion about moving forward. We did bring it up early in the process that we'd like to have a bump for training. It didn't work into the economic numbers needed to get this bill passed this year, but it is something that's we really want to put high on our priority list when we start to work on the bill. When it's a law, we can really make changes to it, and we can work. And Darcy can maybe pipe in on this about how we can. This is the first step. It's not the end all of this process. This is the beginning. We get the law passed, we can do a lot of things to improve it. And that will start right when the rulemaking. I saw there was a question on rulemaking, Peter, and I was going to say that starts with the ACA and Matthew Earl Jones, who obviously has a vested interest in making sure that our community is served and served well, as well as serving the greater good of the state. So that's the first step. Then we're going to be modifying the law as we move through it for the next several years. So training is high on that list.
Great. Anyone want to add anything to that? Otherwise, I'll go to the next question.
Peter, do you mind? Yeah. Okay. So the Jim Gross question, I wanted to address that, if that's okay. Okay. So Jim said, how can we be sure the benefits of SB 1708 are enjoyed by Tucson and Southern Arizona and don't get swallowed up by Phoenix? So one of the unique things about Southern Arizona is that we have what's called the 300-mile zone, where you can, with our international partnership with Mexico, going into Rocky Point, getting beaches, going up north and further, a little further with mountains. So that's how this SB 1710 can support that, with certain type of potential incentives to attract film and to make sure that we do get the opportunities here in Southern Arizona. SB 1710 is for Southern Arizona. SB 1708 is for all of Arizona, but they will complement each other. And I think that's how we can make sure that we get a good amount. But that's a great question, because that's always our concern. And that's why this Southern Arizona Sports and Tourism and Film was created, for that reason.
Sounds good. I want to answer a question here by Mike Overstreet. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but I'll go backwards, I promise. He says, we lost a lot when the legislature allowed the original incentives to run out. And if passed, it's going to take a while before these incentives draw production to the area. It's not going to be like flipping a light switch. I'm going to address that just from my personal view here, from what I've experienced when HBO was here. I wouldn't say it's going to be like flipping a light switch, but there were several studios that reached out to us once they heard that HBO was in our area. One in particular was a gentleman that's higher up at a very popular network, and he's got a TV series that's going to be produced by a very high up director. I don't want to name any of this yet, but he immediately called because he heard, wait, HBO's in Tucson? I thought Arizona didn't have incentives. So I explained to him how we work together to bring them in, et cetera, et cetera. He's got a TV series he'd like to bring to Arizona. I'm not going to say that's like a light switch, but it's definitely the minute we get incentives, I'm going to reach out to him and let him know we got him now. Let's talk. And things don't always move super fast, of course, but it is like a light switch in that way. The meeting we talked about where all the studios met with the senator, they're all watching this closely. They want to bring projects here. They've probably got several projects that would be perfect for Arizona, and they're just waiting to see what happens next. So again, it won't be like a light switch, but I think things will move a little bit faster than we think. That's just my guess. Anyone want to add anything to that? Otherwise, I'll keep going.
Yeah, I was amazed at that meeting, Peter. I mean, I think I saw a few of them drooling. They were so anxious to get here. I was really caught off guard by the desire to bring not only productions, but lots of other back office facilities to Arizona.
Sure.
So
I just want to reiterate what Randy's saying as well. I mean, I'm an outsider looking in, but being in that meeting, both meetings that we've had with the industry so far, the amount of enthusiasm and excitement that they've had is beyond things that I've seen even from the sports world when we've had those things here. I mean, I hate to use the phrase chomping at the bit, but I think they're ready to and raring to go, and it makes things so much easier for that industry because it's so close to Southern California and California that, again, I'm going to say when you have direct flights, it makes things so much easier to travel and have the kind of productions that can really affect economic development and growth in Southern Arizona.
Agreed. Anyone want to add anything there? We got some questions emailed to us as well, and I should address some of those as well. Will SB1710 change the current function or responsibilities of Film Tucson or Visit Tucson? As the director of Film Tucson, I can say no. We don't have the bill in place yet, so a lot of that is still in the gray area, but Film Tucson already facilitates filming to Bisbee, Tombstone, Nogales. We've even brought projects into Sonora, Mexico. So as far as covering all of Southern Arizona, it's going to help Film Tucson a lot because we already bring a lot of projects to the other parts of Southern Arizona. So just answering that question, I think SB 1710 will really help. It'll really enhance the efforts we already do.
Peter, are you familiar with the actual map of the 300-mile zone? Because I was sharing with I wanted to share with the group how that incorporates Southern Arizona, and I don't know if you have a map of that, you can show them.
Sure, I don't have it with me, but it's on the website of the State Film Office, which is the Arizona Film and Digital Media. That's the name of the office. You could just Google 300-mile zone and the name of that office, and you'll find information about it there. Sorry, we didn't have that up. It wasn't something we had on our agenda, but it's a good point to bring up. I'm going to read a question from Phil Bradstock from the Phoenix Film Office. Can some of the potential issues in the current draft be addressed in rules? And who are developing the rules as mentioned in the legislation? Who is overseeing the program exactly if instituted? Randy, Darcy?
Yeah, so the Arizona Commerce Authority has the Arizona Film Office in it, and Matthew Earl Jones heads that. The whole office is headed by Sandra Watson, and she is very much into economic development and is very smart about how they apply rules, and has been applying rules to giving grants and incentives for many, many years. And really has done a spectacular job. I think Governor Ducey is taking the credit for a lot of their work, and that's great for him. But they are essentially taking the lead on bringing these projects to Arizona, and they're going to write the rules. And there's a lot of things in the rules, as I've talked to Phil about, that are problematic for the industry, where it just didn't quite connect with our language and how we do things, because we do things so uniquely. But the ACA and Matthew, I met with them just recently, 2 days ago, about how they're going to do this, and they're going to they're going to listen to the community. Matthew knows how things work. I'm very encouraged that the rules are going to be interpreted very favorably to the production community in Arizona.
Got it. Great. Oh, look, Darcy's now on.
Got a physical Darcy in the house.
The wonders of technology. I'm going to answer another question here. Can you email a list of talking points we should use for letter to editors, or if we can get in front of a group? I'm involved in local politics personally as an organizer in my off time, and often can speak in front of my legislative district group. That was from Julie Coburn. Julie, if you heard about this event right now through an e-blast from Film Tucson, we actually put a PDF in there you can click on and download or print out, which are 10 talking points of why it's important to get a film incentive for Arizona. If you didn't find out about us through that, please go to Film Tucson, click on my name, Peter Catalanotte, and an email window will pop up. Just send me an email with your, just say hello. You don't even have to say much. And I'll reply with the talking points. So anyone watching this, if you didn't get those talking points, I'm glad to send them out to you and have a conversation about anything else you'd like to say. And this sort of connects with someone else who asked about social media groups. It really is important. If you post something to your social media, you're welcome to share any social media that Film Tucson or Film Phoenix or the Arizona Film and Digital Media Coalition or the Arizona Production Association or the local SAG office. Everybody's sort of putting this story out on their social media, and please share it. We need to get the dialogue going on that. Did anyone have anything to add from the panel?
Yeah, Independent Film Arizona has been doing a great job getting the message out as well.
Great, fantastic. Let's see, there's another question here I wanted to address. This is from Austin Ganoe. We are building a film production studio. I believe that's in Southern Arizona. What are the key things to know about this bill for those who own and operate studios, other than the minimum requirements of 10,000 square feet and meeting generally accepted industry standards?
I'd say that's what you have to know. Again, a lot of the details or the interpretation of these rules are going to be defined by the ACA. This was originally written for new construction, and that is an important part of this. But when I met with the author of the bill, Nick Simonetta, he was so receptive to hearing about the production community and stuff like that, that he lowered the square footage requirement so that it would include, a lot of production companies that have, quite frankly, modern equipment that don't take up as much space, and he was very, very interested in making sure we treat the existing production community fairly.
Great. Anyone from the panel want to weigh in on that, or? I'm going to go to another of our emailed questions. SB1708 designates productions must perform all pre to post in facilities that are at least 10,000 square feet. Does this size requirement pose a threat to Southern Arizona's ability to lure films to the region since we don't have facilities of that size? I can speak as the film commissioner for Southern Arizona. I do know we heard earlier from someone that's developing a soundstage, and we know of one other company that's getting ready to develop a soundstage should the incentives pass. So I'm not worried about it. I think we're going to have some businesses spring up that will serve that need. So personally, I think we're okay with that. I'm going to answer another question from this same email. The investors of SB1708 have proposed to build a massive stage facility in Phoenix. Why did they choose Phoenix when Tucson clearly has a greater film history, slate of productions, and working backlots like old Tucson, Mescal, and Gammons Gulch? Anyone want to take that?
Sure, I'm happy to, Peter. It's you have to ask them. I mean, they're business people. They're making economic decisions with their dollars. I happen to agree that if I was going to build a soundstage, I'd be looking in Southern Arizona, and I live in Phoenix. But it's not for us to say. I think business will drive that. It's free enterprise.
And what I will add again is I can only speak for Southern Arizona. Of the people that want to build a soundstage in Southern Arizona, they are locals, and I like that. So it means it's Tucson people building in Tucson for our community, and it's not an outside group building, and the profits go elsewhere. That's a really great thing to me. Is there anyone on the panel that is seeing any other questions that I haven't addressed yet that you'd like to cover?
Peter, real quick, I want to relate that topic in a couple different areas. So when I look at it from a youth sports standpoint, let's say Maricopa has these huge tournaments, just like New Mexico right now has all this filming and we don't, right? If we're able to pass these through, there's still a trickle-down effect that comes to Southern Arizona. And so we're able to reap some of the benefits when other people are successful. So we want to be able to promote everything, especially from the 1708 standpoint, in the state of Arizona, because if Phoenix is being successful, most likely some of that's going to trickle down or vice versa. So it's what's good for the goose is good for the gander at that point.
Yeah, Sean, Randy, there's a question there from Sean DeSosa. I don't know if you can see it in chat. Randy, you might be the best qualified or Peter to answer that question. You want me to read it to you?
Yeah, which one is it for? Seeing Arizona grow.
Are we seeing any resistance from lawmakers?
No, I'm new behind the ear with film. I have been at the computer field for over 20 plus years and would like to know how the rebate works for investors as well for production studios. I'm not catching the 2.5. Is that 2.5 million or other? I don't want to sound stupid. Just want to know how. How the rebate works. Is there a certain website that shows that? So just trying to understand the rebate.
Yeah, and I apologize. I use shorthand because on that, it's a 2.5% bump in the amount of incentive that you get. So we start at 19, and you get a 19% incentive or refund, and then it can go up based upon how big your production is, how big your project is, I should say, because I do think this is going to apply to at some point to building. But at this point, it's just production. So how big your production is, and if you're using local talent, local crew, you get a bump on every dollar spent on that local person. You get, a larger incentive than you would on an out-of-town person. So that's how it works. And I didn't quite understand the question about investors. I think investors are rewarded by the fact that this helps bring business to the state.
Okay, so there's another from Ornella Jaramillo, and says, sorry if this has already been answered. The film incentive will only apply if you shoot on the soundstage or studio. And it's a question, what if we're shooting on location, which is the whole point of coming to Tucson?
Yeah, and I'd love to answer that too. It's a really great point because this is a developer's bill originally, but it can't be activated until they've developed. So, you know, the end goal is, yes, to incentivize people to come to Arizona, to put their development offices in Arizona, develop the projects here, move them into a studio, shoot them in a sound stage, move them to a post house, and distribute them from Arizona. But they've sliced off a percentage for locations. And until all those facilities are there, there is room for the ACA to interpret that rule based on the available, if available. So while things are not available, I do believe they're going to be applying those dollars to locations that are coming here. She is, I assume it's a she, I'm sorry.
Cornella, yes.
Everybody involved in this bill wants to see projects come to Tucson, to Southern Arizona, to all of Arizona, and they're working very hard to do that. So there's some awkwardness, but again, this is the beginning. Turning this into a law is the first step. After that, real work begins.
And just to let everyone know, I actually went, we were supposed to go about an hour, but I secretly extended the time because I knew we'd have a lot of questions, and I'm really enjoying answering these. Are you guys okay if we go just a little bit longer here? Great, because I want to make sure this is there's a lot of questions. I'd like to field this to one of you. Elisa Cota Francis is asking, how does this benefit local indie filmmakers with budgets from $20,000 to $500,000 who have Arizona production companies who have facilities less than 10,000 square feet, but will perform all aspects of pre-production and post-production in Arizona? Can they qualify?
Peter, that's probably that's a great question, and that's a great question for us from the 1710 standpoint. So what our group, our authority is trying to look at is anything that we can do to help local entities, right, in Southern Arizona. So if they're able to present the film or their needs at that point to our authority, and we're able to take it to the board and vote on it, and we can now use some of the funding that we currently have to put towards their project and market their project. So that's really when you have these two bills working together, that's why they work so well. You know, we're able to now present and market local entities all over in 6 counties, potentially 8 counties as well. And so when you talk about Visit Tucson and SB1710, it's really not one taking away from the other. It's really both of them working together and promoting that local entity.
Great. All right, let's see here. If anyone else sees a question we need to answer, please take over here. Who did we miss? There's
a question addressed to me right there that I'd love to answer if I can.
Sure, of course.
The question is, did I say in the future I expect the rebate to apply to new construction? Yeah, I kind of spoke out of turn there. But personally, I believe that the ACA is all about bringing companies and businesses here. That's what they're about. And if we can create an industry in Arizona, I think they're going to focus very heavily on attracting our industry to move here permanently. And they're going to use the tools that they use for high tech and for other industries that they've used in the past. They're going to use those same tools to go after our industry once we establish a strong, growing industry here. And again, this is just my opinion. I haven't talked to the ACA about it, but you look at what they do, you look at the demand from studios wanting to be here, you look at the situation, how good our schools are, thank you, Darcy, and how good our cost of living is here. They want to move here. I've spoken to many studio heads who say, I would love to be living in Tucson. I would love to be living in Scottsdale. So yes, I think this is the beginning of a very big movement.
I'd like to answer a question, unless anyone minds, from Bill Garman. Are we seeing any resistance from any lawmakers? I don't know if we're at that point yet. Darcy, would you like to cover that?
Am I muted?
No, you're good.
Oh. No, shockingly, we are not seeing any resistance yet. So At one point, Arizona Democrats had made a pledge not to support any tax incentives until education is fully funded. They have agreed to step off of that pledge for SB 1708 specifically. We also often see pushback on tax incentive bills from the far right of the Republican Party. And because of the sponsor of this bill, Senator Gowan, who is chair of appropriations, we just haven't been seeing a lot of pushback.
You should mention that other question too, right?
No, there was another question too on there, Peter, that said, is there a chance both bills pass? I can speak to this point. The SB 1710 was heard in Senate Appropriations on Tuesday, and it passed unanimously. And not only did it pass unanimously, it was the most energetic we saw the whole committee the whole evening. So we were actually the 9th bill out of 12, correct? And that was the most enthusiastic we saw them all day. One of those things, both the bills, because they coincide and can coexist together and live together, there's a lot of enthusiasm on both sides of the party because it's great for everybody. It's great for communities, it's great for work development. There's a lot of things that speak to the local communities throughout the state of Arizona and Southern Arizona.
Sounds good. Let's see. What are the requirements for local crew to be hired on the productions? Asks MJ Watts. Anyone like to field that?
I don't think those rules have not been set yet. There's been some discussion about having to have, lived in Arizona for a year before you're eligible, but those rules are yet to be set.
Okay. Daryl Mallet is asking, what about traditional opposers like the Goldwater Institute, the Free Enterprise Club? Is that something we can address at this point? Darcy. Darcy, you can talk. Darcy?
Yeah, still muted, Edgar.
There we go.
There we go. Shockingly, those groups have been silent so far,
Yeah.
Which is incredibly good news.
Part of it might be, those of you watching, the bills are so pro-business. That's my take. We went and testified, as Blake mentioned, at the legislature last Tuesday for the SB 1710. And I got to tell you, I was expecting some opposers to show up and testify against this bill right alongside with us, and they didn't. That's a good sign.
That's a good sign.
It doesn't mean it's the end of things, but it's a good sign.
Yeah, I will add that the senator and Nick Simonetta has hired an economist that's very well respected in Arizona, and they've done their homework. They've really laid it out that this is good for Arizona, it's good for the taxpayers, it's good for the state. The dollar, real clear.
All right, we have a few minutes left. If anyone doesn't mind, I'd like to, granted she's a friend, so I want to address her question, but Elisa Cote-Francis has a follow-up on the question she asked earlier about local productions being able to qualify. Blake, you had given SB 1710 as an example, and she's asking again, her question was in regard to the 17 to 20% film incentive rebate, not 1710. She's asking about 1708. The bill seems to state that they must film in a 10,000 square foot facility or on location and use a production facility that is 10,000 square feet. Could you clarify? So she's really just 1708 is.
Yeah, so I to be honest, we cannot clarify. It is deliberately vague so that the ACA and Matthew Earl Jones has the opportunity to look at this and apply those rules to what is happening in the state right now on the ground. So it does read awkward, I agree, but like I've said before, the intent is to bring productions to Arizona, and that's what all the economic benefit is all about. And the ACA is working really hard to help local production people. And so when they write those rules, they'll be much clearer and we'll be able to move forward. But just know the intent is to bring projects like Duster to all of Arizona.
Great. We have about 5 more minutes. I'm just going to go back to one of the email questions. I didn't want them to feel left out. What is the annual funding cap for SB1708? Are there per project caps or minimum spend limits to receive incentives?
Again, I'll go ahead. It's $150 million. And it will be determined by the ACA during the writing of the rules, how they do it. We've had some discussions about trying to prevent it from getting overloaded right in the beginning. There may be an application fee, there may be some stuff, but all of these things are going to be looked at during the writing of the rules, so that it's a much smarter bill than we had last time, and much more based on industry standards.
Where's it at?
Got it. Anyone else want to add something to that? I have another question I want to answer. We spoke about it earlier, but Janet Siegel, are there plans for a soundstage in Tucson? Yes. One person has already written, and then our group knows of another. So if we had incentives, there will be some sound stages coming. I can almost guarantee it. So those are coming.
Peter, can I speak to, there's a question from Austin Gano. I apologize if I said that wrong. It's about shooting on location. So the bill does allow the rebate if you shoot on location. The one part, so Austin pasted the language of the bill below his question. I did want to draw everyone's attention to the fact that it says pre-production and post-production and editing must be done in this state if a facility is available. So we clarified that language. The facility would need to be an authorized facility by the ACA. And the ACA has clarified that there are currently no facilities in this state that qualify. And so at the moment, until one of those facilities is built, pre-production and post-production can happen anywhere. So until those facilities are built, that remains wide open for those things to happen in any location within the state or outside of the state.
Great. I want to quickly address one from MJ Watts. I think it's in reference to a question that came earlier about parks, filming in public parks. We cannot destroy our local environment. Sets create a lot of waste. I can say is I've been at Film Tucson for 21 years, and we've facilitated a lot of filming in all the federal parks, the state parks, and the county parks, and the city parks, of course. They have rules against littering. And we had a Steven Spielberg shot a small section of his latest film in Tucson Mountain Park. Ironically, it was happening when HBO was happening at the same time. It was kind of wild to have J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielberg filming in Tucson at the same time. They followed the rules that Tucson Mountain Park, owned by Pima County, laid out about cleaning up and creating any messes and hauling off garbage and so forth. And the place was spotless after they left. The productions followed the rules set by the parks. I can guarantee it. If you've seen something otherwise, please let me know, because we want to make sure that doesn't happen. But I can say that the film productions they really have to follow the rules that the parks set for them. So I just want to make sure to corner that. We have about 2 minutes left. Any questions that anyone would like to address? When will language be included in the bill that addresses capital investment in infrastructure? Many successful markets, such as Georgia, had language to encourage capital investment specifically for infrastructure. Sorry, your message keeps bouncing. The capital needs for Arizona are indeed scores of millions of capital to achieve our goal as a production center. Anyone like to?
I think that's yet to come. I think that's next year.
what we've said before, and maybe it needs to be said again, is the bill is very strong, and we think that's why it will be successful. But that doesn't mean it's perfect. And our hope is, as it gets successful, we're able to look at it again and again and improve it and make it better, which is what every state does with their bills as well. That's what we're aiming to do. We're going to be cut off in about a minute, so I apologize that we weren't able to cover everyone's questions, but I can't thank everybody enough out there in the public that attended. You're always welcome to email me if you have more questions, and I'll disperse it to the panel here. I want to thank the panel. It was so great of you all to join us. And just again, sign up with the Arizona Film and Digital Media Coalition so you can start supporting these bills and get filming here to Arizona. Thank you all. Have a good night. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.